Do you want to pass the first certificate in English? Today I'm going to give you some essential tips on how to pass Part 2 of the speaking exam. If you haven't seen my video on speaking Part 1, I suggest you see it first by clicking on the link at the top right hand side of the screen. I'm going to help you not just pass, but pass with a better grade. Remember to turn the subtitles on so you can follow along. Let's get started. The speaking exam lasts 14 minutes. Part 2 lasts 4 minutes. So what do you have to do in Part 2? This part is known as the long turn. This is where you have 1 minute to compare 2 photos and answer one question relating to the photos. You talk about the similarities and differences between the photos and answer the question. You will also have to answer a question about your partner's photos. This normally takes about 30 seconds. To pass the first certificate, you need to use B2 or Upper Intermediate Level English, which is set by the Common European Framework for Languages, the CEFR. So what are the examiners looking for? Firstly, they're looking at grammar and vocabulary. A successful candidate will use some simple and some complex grammar and a wide range of vocabulary. Secondly, they're looking for discourse management. What's that, I hear you ask? A successful candidate at the speaking exam will have very little hesitation. A clear organisation of ideas by using a range of cohesive devices and discourse markers. This means that your ideas are linked with language that helps the listener understand you and makes your speaking clearer. I'm now going to give you some language to help you with your discourse management. For instance, when contrasting ideas, you can use language such as on the one hand, although, whereas. For adding similar ideas, another reason is. What's more? Equally. For introducing your opinion. In my opinion, to my mind, it seems to me that. For giving examples. For example, for instance, such as. For sequencing. Firstly, secondly, to start with, talking about similarities. Both photos show. In both photos we can see. They are similar in that they both show. And talking about differences. Whereas in the second photo, while in the first photo, unlike in the first photo. The examiners are also listening for good pronunciation. You need to be intelligible. You need to have appropriate intonation, to have accurate word and sentence stress, and to clearly articulate. They do not mind if you have an accent as long as you can be understood. The fourth criteria is interactive communication. This is how you interact with your partner. This is not really tested in speaking Part 2, but will be seen more in Part 3 and 4. Other useful language for speaking Part 2 is the language of speculation. They seem to be. They are probably. It could be. They may be. Out the language of comparison. More than. Less than. As something as. What do you say when you get into difficulties? When you can't think of the word, say what it's like or what it's used for. I can't think of the word, but it's a kind of. I'm not sure how to say it, but it's used for. What's the word? It's quite normal for you to not know all the vocabulary, but you will get a better grade if you show that you know how to describe something and show that in a real life situation you would be able to communicate effectively. I'm now going to give you an example question for speaking part 2. You can see 2 photographs and the question, what are the people learning from doing these 2 types of work? Here is a possible answer. Well, okay. Firstly, I can say that both photographs show young people, perhaps teenagers, working. Both jobs in the photo involve working in situations where they need good skills in dealing with people in the correct way. I'm sure neither of them is very well paid. Anyway, the first photo shows a girl serving young people in a restaurant, whereas in the second photo, a boy is working with children and coaching them to play football. The girl's job may be full-time, whereas the boy's job is probably part-time. I think both can learn a lot from these jobs. The girl can learn how to keep customers happy, while the boy has to keep children in order. The girl has to learn to work efficiently under pressure. On the other hand, the boy has to learn to keep cool. He'll probably learn not just to deal with children, but also their parents. You can hear me comparing similarities and differences and answering the question using some of the language from today's tutorial. It's now quiz time. Each candidate must speak alone for 1 minute. True. You have to compare 4 photographs and answer a more general question about them. False. There are only 2 photographs to compare, but there is a question relating to these photos. You should compare the photos in detail. False. You have 1 minute to talk about the photos and answer the question. You don't have time to talk about the photos in detail. You should look at the similarities and the differences. You should spend half the time on the photos and half the time on the printed question. True. After your partner has spoken, you'll be asked a question about the same photos. True. So remember to listen to what your partner says so that you don't repeat what they've already said. Here are some final tips. Listen carefully to instructions and your partner's answer. Speak clearly. Imagine you're talking to somebody on a telephone and you're describing what you see. Use phrases or chunks of language as we've seen in this tutorial. Practice. Time yourself speaking for 60 seconds. You could even record yourself so you can hear your strengths and your weaknesses. Don't forget to answer the question. You can get all caught up describing the photographs that you run out of time and forget to answer the question, so leave yourself time. Keep talking. The examiner will stop you when the minute is up. Good luck. You now know how to pass part 2 of the FCE speaking exam. Remember to like this video, I'd really appreciate it, and subscribe to my channel, Oxford English Now.